who's seeing what you're doing. So you always have to take into account cameras. I wasn't when I got there. I'm be totally honest. Didn't have a need to be. But yeah, it was awesome, man. I really enjoy that stuff because you can't make mistakes, and it's all the little nuances, man. Like, it's very cool. Like,
are you able to broadly, without giving up people and locations, talk about a time where you guys did kind of have to set a trap for somebody? Again, not surveillance, more undercover. And I guess when I'm asking about this, you know, it's a little difficult because you got to be vague on stuff.
Yeah.
But when we think about it, we're just thinking about the movies, like smash and grab. Like, okay, there he is. Once we got it figured out, we're just gonna take him or whatever. But I would imagine it's because you're an unofficial team. There's a lot you got to take into account with what direction this is going to go.
So one of the things that you have to take into account when you're doing covert action type stuff is who's seeing what you're doing. So you always have to take into account cameras, right? There's cameras everywhere.
Well, now especially, yeah.
Yeah, and even like where we were doing that, we knew that was one of the things that we did when we first got there is we sent guys out on singleton operations by themselves in certain areas, like find out where every freaking camera is, buildings, streets, you know, everything, because you don't have a video of you hemming somebody up in a vehicle interdiction, right? We're going to snatch somebody out of a vehicle, and now some camera just got the whole thing on film. Right. Like, you really, really want to avoid that kind of stuff. You know, that's important. But you know, you're looking for a place that is out of prying eyesight, somewhere where preferably they're going to be alone, where they feel safe, right? Where, like, hey, you know, like, for example, going into their apartment, you know, they're in a secure building, or they think they're in a secure building, and now they're home. You know, their guard's kind of down. They're not, you know, at full alert, because you have to understand, like what I just told you, these are people, for the most part, know they're on a list somewhere. They're doing shit they shouldn't be doing. They're, you know, attached to or working for a terrorist organization. Doesn't matter which one.
Mm-hmm.
They know what they're doing is wrong. And they know somebody's probably watching them, and sooner or later is going to send people to stop them. And so, you know, I don't know if that answered your question, but
yeah, I mean, I was looking for like some sort of specific story where that may have happened, though, without going into the place. Like, was there, so to use what you just described, was there a situation where you and maybe a team of your guys in an undercover operation lured someone to, say, a private place and then captured them?
Okay, so one time we rerouted a road. So basically put signs that the road was under construction. I mean, it's not sexy, but they didn't have a freaking choice, and basically funneled them into an ambush. Yeah. Well, a vehicle interdiction, right? Not that we fired their car up again.
Like Sonny and the Godfather type deal here?
Oh, not that bad. No.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a flat ass ambush to kill the guy. Again, the whole idea here is capture these people so they can be interrogated to get more information. What I'm talking about right now, we interdicted their vehicle, but the way we did it is we just rerouted the road and sent them to a place that they went through a choke point where they couldn't get out of. You know, they drove in and that was it. They couldn't get out if they had to. And we were on them so fast, and they did have a weapon in the car. I couldn't even get to it in time. And one of the dudes I was with, it was actually funny. The guy's driver's side window was down. And one of the dudes I used to work with is big. He was a huge dude, man. He was a big guy. He was like 6'6", 250. Like, he was he get hands on, he's going to hurt you. And he literally drugged this guy through the window. It was really funny. Like,
Nice.
Yeah, didn't even open up the door. You know? And, but yeah, I mean, dude, there's all kind of neat little ways that you can set somebody up for failure. And this is where, and I keep saying this, and I've said it before, like the guys that I worked with were freaking smart dudes. Okay. They were exceptionally gifted planners. I wasn't when I got there. I'm be totally honest. Didn't have a need to be until I got there. And just like we're sitting here, dude, no different. Throw all the freaking intel on the table and you're like, all right, how are we going to do this? One person starts looking like, hey, what about this? Oh shit, that's not going to work. Hold on. Hey, check this out. Like there's a building right across the street. Like, ooh. And then the thing starts gelling, right? And then one guy chimes in and another guy chimes in. And it's before you know it, you got this bomber plan, man.
How often are these meetings happening with just all ground branch guys versus also having some other dudes maybe from the agency or something else in the room?
When we planned something, it was just us.
Just you.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, maybe once. There was one chief of base that we worked with, and he was a younger guy that wanted to be, clued in on everything. Most of our quote unquote bosses, the chiefs of base, were just like, hey man, there's my office if you need me.
You're talking CI station chiefs?
Yeah, well, not the station chief. That's the head guy. I'm talking about like a chief of base, like of a base, right? So you have like the in-country head guy, and then you've got all these outposts, and they all report to him. I'm talking about if I was at a base on the board. Got it. Okay. Yeah. And so they just
capos of the family.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yep, the capo.
You're in Jersey.
There
we
you
gotta
go.
translate into our language.
But that was the chief of base. Normally, they were older, mature guys, been there, done that, and they kind of just left you alone to do what you did. And they would be like, hey, like literally, like, hey, there's my office right there, and if you need me, come get me. Yes, sir. Roger that.
Whoa.
And sometimes we would have to get them and say, hey, this is a situation right now. How do you want us to handle this? Because at the end of the day, they are in charge of that base, right? We aren't. We're just a tool, no more, no less. And you got to remember, everything that we were doing was all part of a bigger picture, if you know what I mean. So, and you may not even know, quite frankly, the big picture, hence the term special compartmentalized or sensitive compartmentalized information, like everything's compartmented, so you may not know the whole picture. So if you do get rolled up somewhere, you don't know everything. All I just know is that's it.
Right.
So, but for the most part, yeah, they just leave you alone. You just do your thing, dude. It's big boy rules.